sports talk. Here are Matt Hatfield and Coach Ed Young.
And welcome back to 757 Saturday Sports Talk, powered by CoVA Sports TV. Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have a special guest with us, Ed. He is the man now with Draft Sharks. For many years, he's been coming on with us on the radio side of things, podcast side of things, too. And he's also on Twitter or the X. You can follow him at Shane P. Hallam. That's Shane P. Hallam. And check out the website, draftsharks.com, with a complete 7-round mock draft. He's now doing a ton of things with fantasy football, but he's got guys from the 757 area code in his mock draft. We say hello to Shane Hallam. Shane, it's that time of year again. It's draft time, and people are looking forward to what's on deck in Green Bay, Wisconsin, coming up on Thursday. How you been?
I'm good. It's coming up. It feels like we're, right before Christmas Day here. I'm just excited to kind of get there and get things going, but it's been fun to look into some of these late round picks, undrafted guys. I've been watching a lot of film and trying to, my goal every year is to watch every player that's drafted. I think that'll happen again this year.
I want to start there before we get to some of the obvious questions. I know Ed, my cohort, is going to ask about his Raiders and what they will do, and the quarterbacks. As he's already clapping his hands, putting the fists up. He's going to go get his Raiders paraphernalia in a second. We'll hit you on some 757 guys like Keandre Lambert-Smith from Maury High School, who played at Auburn after starting out at Penn State. Charles Grant, an underrated offensive lineman from Churchill High in Portsmouth, from William & Mary, among some others. But when you watch the film, what are some myths or things you like to dispel? Maybe a sleeper or two, a player that might be a little higher, a little lower on the board, because you're a guy that goes in depth. Some people just do this, and it's a crapshoot for them, but you invest a lot of time and effort into this. Give me a couple things that have been takeaways for you from the film study.
It's been interesting just to see some of the national narratives on some of the players compared to what I watch, and I'll start at the top. I mean, I think Shedeur Sanders from Colorado has been a very interesting ride, right? Because of who his dad is, and because Shedeur himself has been coached since 9th grade. His dad's been on the coaching staff. So we've kind of this intertwining of Deion Sanders and Shedeur Sanders, but I think when you break it down and watch the film, I don't see a first-round quarterback there. I see a player that has a lot of potential, especially between the ears. He's really smart, reads defense as well, can manipulate safeties, does some advanced things really well. But from a tool set, a skill set, Shedeur Sanders is not a player that I would certainly wouldn't put in the top 5, top 10 of the NFL draft, because I think now with defenses bringing their safeties back, using too deep, it's going to be really hard for him with his arm strength to have sideline beaters against some of these defenses, along with being the most sacked quarterback over the past 2 seasons because a lot of his own tendencies. So it's interesting to see the narratives kind of shift, and people are like, he might fall now, might fall out of the top 10, might fall into the 20s, and that more aligns with what I'm seeing. So sometimes you feel crazy, because I was thinking of this in January, February, and then you get to April and some of those things start to shake out.
Now, there are some drafts where the top of the draft is a foregone conclusion months before who's going number 1 overall. You think of a guy like an Andrew Luck, quarterback from Stanford. Then there's some surprises, like in 2006 when Mario Williams went number 1, defensive end with the Texans. Most of the mocks, I see yours with Cam Ward, 1 of the Titans, Travis Hunter from Colorado, Shedeur's teammate, who Deion also coached, 2 to the Browns. Foregone conclusion, or could we get a surprise, a twist here leading up to draft night, and say a trade?
I think Cam Ward's locked in. I don't think we see anything changing at 1. The Titans aren't going to move out of that spot now. They've decided on a quarterback. I think number 2 is a little bit more potential maybe for Cleveland to go another way. I know they were very interested in Abdul Carter, the edge for Penn State, who I have going 3rd to the Giants. So I think there might still be some debate in that Cleveland Browns room of, do you take Travis Hunter? Do you take Carter? Ultimately, I think they're going to take Travis Hunter. I don't think you're going to be able to move down off of 2. Someone's going to be willing to pay to get up that far. I think 3 is where the draft is going to get exciting. I think the Giants, if they don't like Shedeur Sanders, they're not going to take a quarterback at 3. Abdul Carter is there's kind of 3 big prospects here. They might be willing to trade down because they do have 2 edge rushers on the team that are pretty good, in Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau. So that might be where we start to see the shakeup happen. But I think these top 2 picks are pretty well locked in.
So the intrigue starts at number 3, according to Shane Hallam. He of Draft Sharks. Give him a follow on the X or the Twitter, as they say. Shane P. Hallam, and also check out the website, draftsharks.com. Our guest here on 757 Saturday Sports Talk, brought to you by CoVA Sports TV. Like, share, and subscribe. Ed, though, believes the draft starts at 6, don't you?
No question. No question. I got my one-of-a-kind Raider hat. It's kind of, I don't know if my head got bigger over the years or the hat was shrunk. I'm not sure. But, yeah, at 6, it looks to be the running back from Boise State, Ashton Jeanty. And being a Raider fan, I've been asked, well, what would you do? What do you think? I'm not happy with the quarterback situation until they got Geno Smith. But Geno is not going to last 7, 8, 9 years. But then again, they get a quarterback, I would think, elsewhere. I always like to think offensive line, best offensive lineman available. You got to get that line strong or forget who your quarterback is. But I'm okay with Jeanty. I see you, as in many of the mocks, I see you have him down there. Other than trading going around and anything happening, will they take him? Will they sniff Sanders or some other quarterback? Will they trade?
I think trade's a possibility for the Raiders, certainly. Like you said, there's a lot of needs here for them. Offensive line, running back, receiver, quarterback. They could use a corner. They could use another pass rusher. And I think this is a team that with Geno as a transition quarterback, getting more picks isn't a bad idea. But I don't think JT's locked into 6. I think offensive lineman is a very strong possibility for the Raiders, depending on who falls. You know, Armand Membo, the offensive tackle out of Missouri, and Will Campbell, the offensive tackle out of LSU, are both worthy of a top 6 pick and could be franchise left tackles potentially for the Raiders. So if they want to build from the trenches out, I think it's a good move. But I think JT just really fits the new offense that Chip Kelly's bringing in, where he's going to use a lot of the zone blocking scheme, but use the gap in some of the short yardage situations. Loves to use the running back in the screen game, something that JT's very good at. You know, we know that Pete Carroll does love to have that run game be kind of the priority, control the clock, play defense. I think if they want to have a culture shift that the Pete Carroll hiring signified, I think Jeanty's a good way to get there and make the team competitive this year with Geno Smith and Ashton Jeanty. I think this Raiders offense could be pretty good.
See, when I look at Jeanty, if the Raiders would be sure nobody would take him to maybe draft down to pick up some more, trade down to pick up some more picks, knowing they could get Jeanty, and it doesn't look like anybody's looking to grab a running back anytime soon in the upper echelon of the lottery pick, so to speak, or the upper part of the draft. And that was one thing I wanted to ask you anyway, too, Shane, is we do all these mock drafts and look at things, but we don't know about the trades. Do you feel, and I know you touched upon it, but do you feel those trades will come? There will be, because a lot of people don't want to show their hand right now, but that people will, because I also feel it's not like a bona fide, this guy is going to be a stud forever type draft. And again, what draft is. But do you think maybe those trades will start firing off on draft night?
We're definitely going to have some. We always do. I think what we've seen in recent years is, when we have the tier breakdowns of different levels of prospects, that's where we see those trades happen. So in this draft, I think you have the kind of the big 3 in Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter. Why 3 could be a spot for a team to trade up. After that, I think you have kind of a bigger tier to maybe 12, 13 of players that teams are going to feel respectable for. So I think we could have a stretch in that back end of the top 10 where you don't see many trades. Why am I going to move up to 6 if I can move up to 10 and get the same level of player? And then I think we'll see a lot of trades happen in kind of that mid first, right? Teams, we've seen the GMs talk about it. No team has 32 first round grades. They don't have 32 players that are worth a first round pick. They'll generally have maybe 20, some even less than that. And so if you have 15 first round grades and one of those 15 is available at say 22 and I'm picking 30th, well, I better move up to get that player. And that's why I think we see in the back end of the first, even in those last couple picks of the first round last year with Ricky Pearsall going to the 49ers, Xavier Legette going to the Panthers. Those teams had first round grades on those players, so they had to move up and get them. And I think that's what we might see in this draft is kind of no trades, maybe 1 or 2, no trades, maybe 1 or 2. And then in the back end, you'll see a lot.
There's a player from outside our vicinity, but in our state, Shane, that hails from the Commonwealth out of the Richmond area, the 804 area code, played for Penn State against Ed's beloved Notre Dame Fighting Irish. We're talking about the tight end Tyler Warren, who you've got projected, I think, in the last mock going 7th to the New York Jets. And we know last year the Jets could have taken the tight end. There was a couple of them, Brock Bowers in particular, one that went to Ed's Raiders that made a splash here. What's your feel on Warren? Is he had got a chance to be, I know you're into fantasy football, has he got a chance to be that guy that's offensive for the year, whether he goes to the Jets or whoever?
I think he does. He's just such a versatile tight end. We saw Brock Bowers, who I had rated higher than Tyler Warren, but have that similar versatility. I mean, Warren, this past year for Penn State, not only caught passes as a tight end, he ran the ball a ton. He did kind of the tush-push, short yardage, QB sneak stuff for them. So that's another element to his game. He threw the ball 6 times. He threw for a touchdown. He punted the ball. So he does a little bit of everything. And I think for a team like the Jets, who paid good money to Justin Fields, is going to kind of sit there and have their offense back Fields and Breece Hall, then you want a versatile, easy piece to check the ball down to. They can get open in the red zone when you do have a shot at a touchdown, throw it up to him. I think Tyler Warren fits what the Jets are trying to build on that offense more than, say, a wide receiver or even another offensive lineman. So it seems more and more likely that Tyler Warren is going to be a top 10 pick in this draft. Tight end is always, I think, tough to peg, but someone's going to take him early, and I think they're going to get a good one right off the bat.
Ed Warren was a throwback at Atlee High School in Richmond. Basketball, baseball, football, 3-sport athlete in a high school before he started with the Nittany Lions at Penn State.
Yeah, I think that was one of my earlier questions I was going to ask. I think Tyler Warren's stock has gone up. I think the versatility you mentioned, and he's even more versatile than I thought with all that stuff he's doing. I was really excited last year when the Raiders got Bowers because I thought he'd be gone. And, of course, the year he had with ridiculous quarterbacks goes to show how good he really is. So I think Tyler Warren, I don't want to use the old word steal in a draft, but I think he's perfect for what the Jets need. And I would think there might be a team or two right above him that may be looking at him because it's always funny. Nobody wants to show their hand or what they think. The question I have for you, Shane, too, every year we hear, do you draft for need, which I think first round almost definitely is, or do you go with the best athlete and fit him into your scheme, whether it be offense or defense, which I think happens a lot in those later rounds when everybody's looking to get some real steals. How do you assess the idea of for what you need and best athlete?
I think teams have ideas of kind of the needs on their team, buckets of positions of players. And it might not just be, hey, this year we have a hole at edge and we got to fill it, right? It might be a team like the Jets, for example, has both their starting offensive guards. They're both free agents after this year. We have to pay Sauce Gardner. We have to pay Garrett Wilson. We're not going to retain those players. So guard is going to be high on their priority list. I think in the first, second round, you see teams look at some of those positions for this year and the future where they do need someone that backs it up. Those are positions they're going to look at. Doesn't mean they won't consider other things if there's a real value. They've evaluated every position, but need plays a part. It certainly does. I think team fit is an important aspect of that because you know that's when we get surprises on draft day. When you see myself or Mel Kiper or Todd McShay talking about their draft rankings, we're not drafting for a scheme. I'm not picking out the scheme that my offense and defense is running and building a board based on that. I'm looking at everybody. These teams are looking at very specific players for their teams that fit and may have specific roles and positions that other teams simply don't use. So that's going to take players off of their board that might go much higher and add players to their board that other teams may not have very high. So I think when we get to that day 3 is when you're looking at athletes, you're looking at fits, you're looking at special teams. There's a lot of different voices from assistant coaches to position coaches that are voicing what they want. And that's where you kind of can take some of those dart throws and may get people that don't make it in the NFL because the fits aren't there or they don't see a way up the depth chart.
Speaking of dart throws, there's a quarterback named Jackson Dart. Will he be the third guy off the board? And I think the over-under set by the folks in Vegas at 2.5 quarterbacks in round 1. Is there a chance we only get 2 with Cam Ward and Shador, or do you think there will be that third, maybe dare we say a 4th, 5th guy that slides into the latter part of the first and more quarterbacks to come early, second, third round? Give us the quarterback assessment because it's something everybody always focuses on.
I think Jackson Dart will go in the first round, and there's always a chance of more quarterbacks, but I feel like we always overhype it a little bit. We always think, so many teams need a quarterback, so they're just going to take one. And the quarterback's the position you don't want to just take a guy because you have to. So we can go back to Malik Willis and Matt Corral and Will Levis, right, of all these quarterbacks that are going to go in the first and then don't go in the first because teams don't evaluate them that way. So I think Jackson Dart's on the line. I have him going 26th. The Los Angeles Rams. I think 21st to the Pittsburgh Steelers is a common spot. Jackson Dart has the tool set, good deep passer. He can run the football a little bit. 3-year starter in the SEC, showed talent as a true freshman, 18 years old at USC. So there's a lot to like, but that Lane Kiffin system, Mississippi, is really built on pre-snap reads that you predetermine who you're going to throw to before you snap the football. So there's a lot that Jackson Dart in terms of progressions and an NFL offense and footwork that he has to get better at. And we saw some of that at the Senior Bowl. So I think teams are kind of getting cued in like, hey, he has the character, he has the mentality, he has the ability to adapt to an NFL offense. I think that puts Jackson Dart in the first round. I think the other possibility might be Jalen Milroe out of Alabama, who certainly is not the first-round passer, but is maybe the best rushing quarterback that we've seen since Lamar Jackson in the NFL draft. And if there's a team that thinks, we can develop this player, we can sit him for a little bit, maybe Milroe sneaks in. I'm going with the first pick in round 2 to the Cleveland Browns with his former offensive coordinator, Tommy Rees, in Alabama, now the offensive coordinator in Cleveland.
Shane also has Trevion Henderson, running back from The Ohio State out of Hopewell High School in Richmond, going in the second round pretty early as well. Could be one of those best running backs that may go to your Raiders or somebody else if Ashton Jeanty isn't the pick in round 1.
Yeah, I think Henderson presents the opportunity. He catches it out of the backfield, but he also is a returner who I think has gotten better and better. He's tremendous in high school. And then he slipped a little bit early for Ohio State, maybe the learning curve or whatever, but I think a second-round pick means he's pretty damn good to come up that high. Shane, the thing also, Travis Hunter. A lot of people talk about one in a generation type player. This kid, he's a wide receiver, he's defensive back. Okay, where do we play him? Me personally, I think you play him at wide receiver because he can get the ball more, but you're going to have enough schemes to put him in on defense. How do you assess Travis Hunter?
It's a tough evaluation for that reason. We've never really seen someone play both ways full time, right? We've seen Deion Sanders play receiver. We've seen the Champ Baileys and Chris Gamble's play a little bit, or have some linebackers take fullback snaps or whatever. But Travis Hunter clearly wants to play both full time. My concern is even watching him on film, as good as he was, Heisman Trophy winning season. I mean, there are many, many games, most of his games where he's not playing at 100%. He's worn out. He's playing every snap. When he had to play every snap, he wasn't able really to handle it. I think he could have been even better. It may have been a number 1 overall pick type. So to me, I like him at corner. I think that is where he can be a Hall of Fame type player. I think he can be a really good receiver. He could be a CeeDee Lamb type of receiver, right? One of the best in the NFL. But I think at corner, he has Hall of Fame potential. I think you try him at both. I think you try it out, see what you get, see how he fits your scheme and your system, see what you need and where he fits in. And if it's not working out, I think it's very easy to adjust that. So I think Travis Hunter probably wouldn't go 2 if he just played receiver or just played corner in college. But the fact that he can do a little bit of both makes you feel like you can at least start there and always adjust, and you're at least going to have a really good player either way.
Shane Hallam, a fountain of information, our guest here on 757 Saturday Sports Talk on CoVA Sports TV. Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel and interact with us wherever you are tuning in. I want to hit on the local guys, then Ed and I will finish up with you on some overview. We thank you so much for the time here today. 2 of the wide receivers from our neck of the woods, out of Maury High School, started out at Penn State, finished up in the SEC at Auburn, Keandre Lambert-Smith. You've got him going in the 6th round. I know there was some grades early on for him at times, 2nd, 3rd round, maybe some consistency issues. Did have a flair for the dramatic, that big win they had in overtime this year. And then another guy that's a wide receiver, Daquan Felton, who you have in the 5th round, was once at Norfolk State, played at Virginia Tech. He's from Churchland High in Portsmouth. Those 2 wide receivers, your assessment of them if you can.
I think they're both going to get drafted, certainly. I think Keandre Lambert-Smith, like you said, I have him a little bit later. I think he could go as high as the 4th. I don't see day 2. I'll never say never, but I think the 4.37 40 time, showing off that speed, pretty good vertical jump of 34.5, doing that, 6'1", 190, pretty impressive. So you go back to the Penn State film, and I agree. I think he looked like a potential day 2 pick, even in a system that wasn't throwing the ball a lot. I thought at Auburn, there just wasn't enough there. I wish there was more production from him. But I think that the speed, the way he's able to play the ball when it's contested, he's someone after the catch, I think offers a lot. I think teams are going to like what Keandre Lambert-Smith does. And I think he hasn't quite hit his ceiling yet. Daquan Felton at 6'5", 213, has a lot of potential. 4.5 40 time, very explosive. When you watch the film on him at Virginia Tech, he just explodes off the snap. And at that size, going up against some bigger corners, he really gave it to them. And again, wish there was more production there that we never really got to see out of him. But in man-to-man coverage, especially on deep throws, he's really good. So I think both these guys will stick in the NFL. I think they're good, 4th, 5th receivers. Someone gets hurt. I think Keandre Lambert-Smith or Daquan Felton could both come in and give you something. And I think that's where drafted in the 4th or 5th round.
2 more guys, Shane. We appreciate the insight here in terms of the trenches before I let Ed jump back in here. Antoine Powell-Ryland, an edge rusher on the defensive side of the ball, who started out at Norcom High School in Portsmouth, finished up at Indian River High School in Chesapeake. Changes in college, too, from the Florida Gators to the Virginia Tech Hokies. You have him as a 6th rounder, and then a guy that's totally flown under the radar. It's odd for me and Ed. We covered a lot of these young athletes in high school and watched them get ranked as 4 stars, 3 stars, 5 stars, whatever scouting services, and then they pop or some don't pop. Charles Grant was on nobody's radar. He goes to FCS William and Mary. You've got him in the 3rd round, as he might be one of those sleepers as an offensive lineman. He had a Churchland High in Portsmouth. Your breakdown of those 2 guys, Grant and Powell-Ryland.
Powell-Ryland is someone that definitely popped on my radar back in 2023. He has the production, 25.5 sacks over the last 2 seasons. He's not long. He's not super fast or athletic. He's not someone that you look at and you're like, whoa, this is an NFL player. But the violence has enough bulk to him that you can't really push him around. He knows how to use his hands and feet really well. He can push NFL caliber offensive linemen. I think he's worth a late round pick. See if you can use him as kind of a reserve player. I think that type of effort gets rewarded, even if he goes undrafted. I think he's a player that can sign and make a team. So I'm really interested in him. And Charles Grant is just really impressive. William and Mary has they use this very, very zone heavy scheme. So it's a zone blocking only. And Grant really tried, I think, this offseason in the draft process to show, hey, I can anchor down. I can be a gap style. He added some weight. He's got this 7-foot wingspan that he just keeps these defenders off of him. So William Mary, he's dominant. And I think, this pro day, he had a little bit of weight, was a little bit sluggish, a little bit slow. So he's more of a kind of a projection. Can we get this huge mammoth out there and get him to work in our system? I think teams like that in the 3rd round like to take those small school offensive linemen that have that type of starting potential because, Charles Grant could be a starting left tackle in the NFL. That's his upside.
Amazing story if that happens, Ed, because he was overlooked by so many schools at the FBS level, made the most of his opportunity with the Tribe at William & Mary playing for Coach Mike London.
Yeah, and I always get excited about sleeper guys or guys who fall asleep in the draft because they don't pan out to what people thought, because it's all really, as one put it, a crapshoot, because we're basing everything on what they've done and what we think hopefully can happen at the pro level. But as we see, sometimes the 2 levels are distinctly far apart. And it's always loved the statistic when they talk about guys in the Hall of Fame who were 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th round draft picks. And you think, wait a minute, he wasn't a 1st round pick. And then, okay, well, what about the 1st round guy? And we forget all about him. So it is a crapshoot. And based on that, Shane, as you look at, and you do a heck of a lot of work, man, I admire you for doing it. And very few people do all 7 rounds. That's when I really hand it to you. As the TV guys, all the supposedly greats, they just do the 1st round, and some of them cut it right in the middle and hide their pick, so to speak, I'll call it. But you do all 7, and I got it hands off to you. But in doing all your work, is there a sleeper guy out there that maybe we don't hear a lot about, who can really tip the draft a certain way, or who you really feel down the road is going to be the guy we're going to talk about. How the hell was this guy not picked in the first 5-6 picks?
Yeah, I'll give you a guy that I think is going to go maybe round 2, maybe round 3, that I think it has a star quality, and it's Jalen Royals, wide receiver out of Utah State. He's a player who, when he gets the ball in his hands as a receiver, really turns into a running back. I think is one of the best after the catch wide receivers. A ton of production at Utah State, got hurt this year, but 6 foot, 205 pounds, 4.42 40, really explosive off the snap, 1.49. And I mean, Utah State, it's not a Power 5 conference team, so they're just getting the ball in his hands and letting him do his thing. I mean, he's aggressive. The question with him was, can he run a full route tree? Goes to the Senior Bowl in Mobile, makes these corners look silly running the full route tree. Looks like he has it. I think we just haven't seen everything from him, and I think Royals reminds me a lot of Rashee Rice as a player. Coming out of SMU, we saw how good Rashee Rice was immediately off the get-go with the Chiefs. I think Jalen Royals has that stud potential. I think he's going to be better than Matthew Golden, the receiver from Texas, who's probably going to be the first receiver off the board.
There's a good one there, Ed. Everybody's looking for that next Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what you kind of look, because every time when I see, especially my Raiders, when I see their whole draft, I'll start looking at it, I'll go, well, who the heck is this guy? Where I have to go back and read my thing on and see, did they get maybe a potential steal? Are we going to talk about an all-pro guy in a couple of years? Then I'll hats off. Or are they going to talk about a guy that's going to be on taxi squads for the next 5-6 years? I got to ask you, my second team. A lot of people get on me when I say I love the Raiders, and I really, 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 really like the Steelers. Now, the drama they've been in tune with is this dude named Aaron Rodgers, who it was on the McAfee show yesterday. Everybody thought he was going to say what he's going to do, and he don't know what he's going to do. You have them taking alignment, which I thought was interesting, because a lot of Steeler fans are talking about, we got to get Sanders. We got to have somebody. Rudolph will not be the guy. Screw Aaron Rodgers. Your insight onto what's going on with the Steelers.
I don't think Aaron Rodgers changes what the Steelers do in this draft, whether they get him or not, right? So they can sit and wait, and Rodgers can decide now. He can decide in August, right? I mean, I don't think it matters to them. I think they're going to, if they have a quarterback that they like as the future, the Steelers aren't going to draft someone at 21 or in the 3rd round who's going to start this year, even if they drafted Jackson Dart. So whether Rodgers plays or it's Rudolph, I don't think it matters to them too much. I think ultimately for the Steelers, it's going to be about, do we think this quarterback has franchise potential, and is he worth this pick? And ultimately, Andy Weidel, the assistant GM there, came from Philadelphia. We see how the Eagles have built their Super Bowl teams from the inside out. I think that's exactly how the Steelers want to and have built their Super Bowl contending team. So the defensive line, they have a huge hole opposite Cam Hayward. I haven't drafted Derek Harmon out of Oregon, who's always comped to Cam Hayward, kind of Cam Hayward light to maybe take over for that position. And then taking Tyler Shuck out of Louisville in the 3rd round, who's a 6'5", 4'6", 40 type of player, 26 years old, experienced. I think Mike Tomlin likes to have that veteran, that more experienced quarterback after the Kenny Pickett experiment failed. So I think they might wait and draft one in the 3rd or 4th round instead of the 1st.
Shane Hallam giving you all the information. You can follow him on the X at Shane P. Hallam and on draftsharks.com. We'll get you on this. People go up there on the website, follow your X account. People still call it Twitter in some respects. What can they find leading up to the draft and then post-draft? Do you have any analysis, grades, things of that nature? I know you'll have a lot of fantasy football stuff as we get closer to kickoff time.
Yeah, I'll be updating my big board, so I'll have my top 100 at least. I'm probably going to go to a top 235, maybe top 300 players in this draft. I'll have an updated 7-round mock draft the night before the draft, so you can definitely check that out. And if you are into fantasy football, then draftsharks.com. We have write-ups on all the top quarterbacks, running backs, receivers, tight ends, film studies. So I actually put the film in the articles. We break down the film, and you actually get to see what these players are all about.
Really cool. Tons of features and neat content to peruse when you go up there to draftsharks.com. Thank you so much, my friend. Enjoy the draft. Hopefully my Cardinals knock it out of the park, and Ed's Raiders, and I guess his Steelers too, but still I can't understand how you like the Raiders and the Steelers. Do all right and don't make him too grumpy, and have a good one. We'll talk to you again soon.
Now, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Shane.
Shane, P. Hallam, our guest from DraftSharks.com. Give him a follow on the X2 at Shane P. Hallam. We'll take a timeout. More to come here on 757 Saturday Sports Talk, powered by CoVA Sports TV after a word from our sponsors. Stay tuned.